Hello, world. This is Ray tapping in with a quick message for those of you watching us on YouTube. We had a bit of a technical error happen during our review segment of the show. Our video drops out, so we won't have any video for that portion, but it picks right back up for Black Cinema Games. So stay with us. You know, we're an independent show, so sometimes we have these technical issues, but just wanted to share that up front with you. If you're like, what happens to the video? That's what happened. So we will see you on the other side and enjoy the show. It's movie day. I'm Ray Love Jr.
Then I'm Tre'vell Anderson.
And we are Seated, the blackest show about movies.
Yes. If you are new to the congregation, well, welcome. Take a seat. We don't bite. And if you've been here before, you know the drill. Please like, comment, subscribe. Be sure to tell your friends about the wonderful fun we are having over here at the Seated Show podcast. And on the docket today, we are discussing 28 years later, The Bone Temple, directed by one Nia DaCosta, who's been very busy as of late, okay?
Oh, hell yes. But before we get into this week's main show, I have a fresh out for the people. I know you've been busy. I've been busy too, child. But you know, I've still been watching these here movies.
And I love that for you. So for the people who are new, fresh out, are like our bite-sized reviews for things that we're seeing in the theaters. What did you see this week?
So this week I saw one of my dumpuary must-see picks that I discussed in, what was that, like 2 or 3 episodes ago? And it was Sin Help, starring Rachel McAdams.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Sam Raimi's latest movie, I guess you can say. All right, so let me describe it for the people. So, boom, Rachel McAdams, she plays Linda, Linda, who is an overworked assistant who is absolutely sick of her toxic Nepo baby boss played by Dylan O'Brien. And while flying on the company's PJ for a business trip, they crash pretty violently on a deserted island. And the script flips immediately because, as it turns out, she's a Survivor super fan. You know, Survivor, like the TV survival show, the competition reality show. It was really interesting to see that unfold. It's a part of her personality, but as such, she has actual survival skills while he's just kind of dead weight, leading to a messy, violent power struggle. And we basically see this play out for an hour and 53 minutes. And that's it. Like, it's literally a survival film with someone juggling, trying to essentially control the circumstance and help them survive, in a sense. Like, if I tell you too much more, it's going to give it away, but
yeah, you ain't got to. It seems like it, even from the trailer, right? It feels like it was very obvious kind of narratively. Did you like it?
I did, but my first critique of the movie is that it honestly could have afforded to shave off like 20, 25 minutes so that they can get that runtime to a tight 90, because it's not like they were doing anything inventive. And I'd say it's like definitely the definition of a dumpuary comedic thriller. Like, when you think dumpuary, this is squarely in that bucket over there. And it's trashy, chaotic fun, and it leans all the way into its mess without taking itself too seriously. Like, Rachel McAdams is very much so doing that thing with like a wink and a nod about what's going on. And then even the way it ends, I was like, they know what they're doing with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this something you would suggest people try to see in the theaters, or can they hold off to stream it?
I think people can definitely, if you're looking for something, you find yourself at the box office, this is something worth seeing. It's like a mix of the 2022 movie Triangle of Sadness. I don't know if you saw that one. And also the 2024 movie Blink Twice, which I know you saw because we talked about that one.
Yes.
Because it's like giving that like island class warfare vibe and like the corporate power play energy. So it's a lesser, goofier version of both of those movies, but it still hits, honestly. It's not deep, but watching Rachel McAdams go like full Pharaoh mode to like humble her boss is, I think, satisfying enough for a solid popcorn watch. So it's definitely one of those movies that like you find yourself hollering back at the screen like, girl, what? Why are you doing this? So it's like that type of energy.
Okay. Well, that was Sin Help. Check it out at your local movie theater if you are interested. And who knows, these days you'll probably blink and it'll be on streaming in 72 hours.
Right. So, and go in with low expectations. Like, don't go in there thinking you're finna get some, high standard thriller. Like, this is literally just something to go in for a good time, mindless movie, and Probably gonna forget about it as soon as you leave because it's just that type of movie. But it's a fun time if you take a girlfriend or your boo and y'all can have a good key about it. So yeah.
Okay, so you trying to tell us you went to see this with somebody?
Actually, I didn't, but I do want to shout out my homegirl who I actually met at the movie theaters. I have a movie friend that I made literally in the theater, Treese. So if you're listening, Treese, shout out to you.
Hey,
we still got to catch up and
Treese.
see that movie, girl. But yeah, making friends at the movies. That's my way of living.
Okay, well, I love that. Shout out to making friends at the movies. Okay, y'all, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to dive into 28 Days Later, The Bone Temple.
Not 28 days, child, 28 years later.
Oh, Jesus, my God. My God.
You know, you got days, weeks, years at this point, child. I probably wrote it in the script wrong, to be honest.
It's, y'all know it. It is what it is. Y'all know what the movie is, okay? And in the meantime, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And you can also email us and have your comments read aloud on the show at holla@seatedshow.com.
And while you're tapping on those keys, go ahead and join the official Seated Movie Club by hitting up seatedshow.com/join. And we will see you after the jump. So grab a snack and come on back. You have to respect the chest-out confidence of a studio that films a sequel alongside a franchise revival so that it can drop exactly 28 weeks later as a cheeky nod to itself. That is a level of flex we rarely see. In 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, we find Ralph Fiennes acting as a sort of therapist for the infected while our boy Spike gets jumped into a toxic cult led by a wannabe Satanist played by Jack O'Connell, you know, Remick from Sinners, in a bleach blonde wig. It is truly a wild time in the apocalypse.
I haven't feared my life ending for many years. But today,
I'm in a bit of a bind. You're in a bit of a bind too.
I did feel fear.
For us, the real gag is seeing Nia DaCosta take the reins from Danny Boyle.
I wanted to do a different approach, something terrifying and very unsettling and weird.
Are you ready?
The Bone Temple steps back into what people love about 28 Days Later.
We love to see a Black woman stepping into a legacy horror space and standing on business. But with the industry moving at this breakneck speed, we have to pause. This rapid-fire release schedule kind of feels like we're watching an industry experiment on the culture in real time. So that's the question we're chewing on today on Seated. Can a fresh Black directorial vision actually breathe new life into the apocalypse, or is it getting suffocated by the machine of an accelerated franchise rollout? All right, Tre'vell, let's jump on into 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. We have a few movie facts to jump into, but I want to know, what are your initial top-line thoughts? Just give me one word to describe how you feel about The Bone Temple.
One word?
Just one.
Nah.
Oh. Okay.
Which I think is saying a lot. Okay, if you know me and you know my viewing habits, meh is actually high praise.
That's wild.
Well, what's your one word, sir?
My one word would be okay.
Boring. Mine's a lot more personable. Come on.
We can get into why later on.
Yes, but we both seem to, we both didn't hate it. Is what I am hearing, and there is that. And so now we should note, as you said, this is a sequel to a rebooted franchise. Do I have that right?
Yes, I would probably say more of like a revival than rebooting.
Okay.
Because we're not seeing the original characters from the initial entry of the franchise. Because we're picking up 28 years later. There are some interesting things that are happening here. But this is definitely a sequel to the movie that came out just last year, actually 28 weeks ago, which is an interesting play they're doing here as a studio. So, yeah.
Okay, but they're doing the play, but it's confusing me because I if I'm not mistaken, you all can run the tape back. I done said 28 days, 28 weeks, all kinds of 28 different stuff. I'm confusion, friend.
Child, you starting to sound like Tony Braxton. 7 whole nights.
Oh, that was a deep cut. Okay. And so you saw 28 years later last year.
Yeah, yep.
I did not.
And I'm going to be honest, I went in last year watching this movie not knowing anything about it. So when I watched the first one, I was like, this is not my flavor of film. I was really just watched it because it was released. And I was like, I want to see what the people are so up in arms about, because people are really excited about this revival. And they seem to love what was happening in the first movie. So...
Well, because it's a genre film, and genre films often, I feel like, have that cult following kind that happens where, like, you know, the movie, maybe it's a decent box office, you know, success, right? Or maybe it ends up being a real great box office success because it's made for, you know, a certain budget cap, you know what I mean? But a specific group of people end up being diehard fans, you know, of it, and it seems like that's what we're dealing with the Bone Temple.
Ooh, the block is hot over here, child. We in the hood now, baby.
We can't nobody. They can't even hear it.
They might.
They might.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those deep horror thriller zombie. So that's a part of that subgenre. It's very much so zombie apocalypse. And at the time that the original movie came out in the franchise, it was doing something new in the apocalypse zombie space. Because we were getting, at that point, zombies were just like slow, types of creatures. Right. But in this franchise, these zombies will haul your ass down. They're running you down to catch you and ripping your head out. Like, they're violent and like fierce.
Okay. She's a runner. She's a track star.
Talk about throwback.
Okay, I know, you're welcome. Okay, so we love to, before we give Nia DaCosta a little bit more attention, which we love to do, what was your film going experience like? Because this movie has been out a couple weeks, so I'm interested.
Yeah, it's been out for a minute. And when I went to see it, I saw it Thursday night, so it was a lot of excitement. As a matter of fact, when I went to see it at AMC, they were doing like this special like promotion where, you know, they give you a free giveaway to get people excited and like really tap into like that fandom. And they gave out apparently part 2 of the giveaway. They started with the first movie, which was like the other version of the poster or the print. So I got that, but I ain't got the first one. So I'm, again, not a fan of the franchise. I ended up giving mine to somebody else who was there, who was really excited. But yeah, it was a lot of energy. Like, folks who were there because, like, one, it was opening night and they were, you know, excited to see what was happening. And this, I can't remember a time when like a sequel came out so immediately after the film. Like Wicked and Wicked for Good was probably the last time I remember that, but that was a whole year between. This was just 28 weeks in between this one. So it was a really quick follow-up, but it's because, like you mentioned, they filmed it simultaneously with the initial revival. So it was a good time.
They're doing something, you know.
Yeah.
It's incorporated into the marketing. I'm sure this cult core audience that you speak about, you know, is very dialed in, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah. So I saw it, I guess, the second week that it was out.
Okay.
My theater, I would say there were 3 parties in my theater. I was the only person in my party, for the record. So 2 other groups of 3s, basically. But it you could tell that they were an audience that was like primed and ready for the crazy, gory hijinks, right, that would ensue. And let's just say I was not ready. Because the horror is not my genre. I believe I've said that on the show plenty of times before at this point. But the overall experience, you know, I feel like seeing horror movies in a theater is a special kind of experience because of the darkness of the room and the space.
Yeah, yeah. It was, I think it helped to be in a room with people who were enthusiastic, being someone who's not, because, that energy helps drive the experience in a way. So,
Certainly.
yeah.
Certainly. Okay, so Nia DaCosta, we just, gave her a number of episodes ago when we discussed her movie from last year, Hedda, which more people should be talking about.
Absolutely.
But so I'll just zoom past this part to say we're fairly familiar with her and her filmography, I feel like we can say.
Yeah. Nia DaCosta is somebody who really woke me up with Hedda. Like, she was someone I've been following. The first movie I actually saw from her was Candyman, and you were surprised that I said I loved it, but I did. I loved her take on Candyman.
Because people had mixed feelings about that. It was a reboot, right, or revival, whatever language we're using, as well.
Yeah, but her style worked on me because I wasn't as familiar with the original Candyman, because the original came out when I was. I don't even know if I was born yet, to be honest, but that was kind of like my. Hold on.
No shade.
That was really my introduction into the franchise.
I feel like Candyman was the 90s, right?
It's possible, but
that's why I said that. That's
but I wasn't fully online yet.
Totally.
Wasn't watching movies like that.
Totally. Me either. And to that point, I think it's also important to explicitly note, right? Nia has had nothing to do with the script, or I'm sure in the course of directing, right, that some changes may have been made to the story in some way, shape, or form, because that is often one of the ways where you can see some changes that the director is able to have some input on, in the actual filming of a thing. But she, in a way that she wrote Hedda, right, in the way that we know that her impact has been in the process of Candyman, or even the Marvels, right?
Yes.
I don't know what her input might have been in narratively speaking with this film, but I highlight that to say, I found myself while watching trying to be like, okay, what is something that I'm witnessing here on screen that says, ooh, a black woman is involved here? Or somebody who is perhaps, or I would not expect to be, moving and shaking in this space, is moving and shaking in this space, which may be crazy to say out loud, in light of us talking about Candyman, in light of us talking about this huge blockbuster action movie, right, that she did as well, all of which elements are in 28 years later. You know what I mean?
But I think that speaks to how she's cornered or etched out her place in the industry, in the market. Like, she's really become the go-to girl for adaptations. Everything she's done has, with the exception of her first film, Little Woods, has been an adaptation of a big, well-known IP work. And I think she's really done a great job at just inserting herself into that space and kind of placing the story through her lens. And I see what you say by watching and trying to figure out what her thumbprint or fingerprint was on the style of the film. But I do want to run down just some receipts for Nia DaCosta, because this is finally the moment to talk about her. And I have been excited to just get into it, because I don't know that people really recognize her the way that she should be as a filmmaker, because to me, she is Ryan Coogler's direct one-to-one comp. And so she has a historic box office record. Her 2021 reboot of Candyman that you mentioned became the first black female director to debut at #1 at the U.S. box office, which is huge. And the MCU milestone she mentioned, she is the first black woman to direct a MCU film. She directed The Marvels in 2023 at the age of 34, which also made her the youngest director in the MCU's history, which is another accomplishment.
Keep going.
And She worked as a production assistant for notable directors like Martin Scorsese and Steve McQueen, and she attended NYU because she admires Scorsese, which goes to show she got out the mud. She did what they tell people to do, pull yourself up out the bootstrap. She started as a PA. So she worked from the bottom up. And she is the highest grossing black female director. Despite the Marvels having a tough box office, she still made her director note by grossing $161 million worldwide. So like the girl has been doing the thing, and I think she deserves just as much respect as Ryan Coogler has been getting. And this is just our moment to put some shine on her. And like you mentioned, she's a hired gun, and she comes in like you don't usually see Hollywood calling a black woman to do a movie like this. Typically, when they call on one of our girls, it's usually do a biopic or a trauma drama or something urban. But she's getting the keys to a British cult classic. Like, come on, Tre'vell. When have we seen this stuff?
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It reminds me of some of the things that I recently heard Brooke Olby say, who also put it in a similar context. Just and by it, I mean Nia DaCosta's track record in her career thus far. Put it in this. I don't want to say different context, because the context is the context, right?
Yeah, facts are facts.
Right, the facts are the facts.
Yeah.
But packages that information in this way, and I do think perhaps one of the reasons why we more broadly don't think of her in this kind of way that we should is because they're adaptations. And you brought up Ryan Coogler. I feel like so much about the work that he has done, there are these obvious and very much so part of the focal point, right, are the things that he brings from his unique life and lived experience into those narratives. I don't know that I've seen that kind of framing, either articulated by or amplified by Nia in relation to her projects. And also she's a black woman, so we know that there is going to be, some difference in perceptions just off of that alone.
Yeah, and I think Ryan Coogler is a bit more swaggy with how he inserts culture into his films, whereas Nia she's softer and she's more, her approach is less, not bombastic, but it's not as like, it's not with music, it's not with visual cues. It's more in just like the story she's trying to tell, like her deciding to interpret the Hedda Gabler story into what Hedda turned out to be, was like changing that to a black woman. So like she does things like that where it's like, let's put blackness in here in a more not subtle way, but kind of, she just folds it in a way that's not as in your face as like a Ryan Coogler, where it's like very black. But back to the comparison of Ryan Coogler, they both only have 5 theatrical films under their belts as directors.
Right.
Ryan, he does have 2 originals in his repertoire with Sinners and Fruitvale Station. She only has Little Woods. Everything else has been adaptation. But like they both came from the Sundance Labs, which is like another thing that ties them together. And they both have that actor muse connection with like the similar way that like Scorsese has De Niro, Coogler has Michael B. Jordan, and Nia DaCosta has Tessa Thompson. So it's just like there's so many similarities that I think because Nia, I'm not saying she's a new publicist, but she's not like really throwing it out there the way that I think she should throw her weight around. And when I did interact with her that one time when I attended that screening for Hedda, she does seem a little less, she seems shyer to Spotlight, I think. But I do think she's somebody who could afford to be in the spotlight more.
Ryan Coogler also isn't, he uses the spotlight specifically when his projects are in the spotlight, right? But we don't see him, we don't see him doing the things that quote unquote celebrities do, right?
That's why I call it the publicist, because he does smart things. He does like really smart things that's like cue to him, and like makes noise in ways that's like comfortable to his personality.
Right. And ultimately, right, the reality is what we're saying here is that both of these motherfuckers is bad. Okay,
yes.
That's what we're saying here.
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to now you all move into a perhaps spoiler inclusive part of our conversation. The film has been out for a few weeks at the time that this is coming out, okay? And so if you would like to jump over this portion, feel free to do so. Ray does a great job of providing the time codes, okay? So you can just hop straight on to Black Cinema Games, okay? If you want to.
Yes.
But from here on out, we are going to talk about the specific plot points in the film, because we got questions and thoughts, okay?
Yes. And before we get into those plot points, to give you a little bit more time to get out of here, if you still ain't heed Tre'vell's warning that we're about to get into spoilers, I'm going to add a buffer and ask you, Tre'vell, who is 28 years later the Bone Temple made for?
Who is the Bone Temple made for? Well, this is a movie that's made, I felt like it was made for its core audience, right? That cult community who's fairly familiar with what's going on here. It wasn't made, I don't think, for people who are unfamiliar with that history, and yet I still felt like I figured it out. You know what I mean? There were enough flashbacks and whatnot to where I was like, okay, I get something happened, and now whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. You know what I mean? But I think the audience, the core audience is definitely, without a doubt, it is, this kind of cult horror genre, zombie apocalyptic, the folks who are very interested in that brand of moving.
Yeah. I would say you will love this movie if you treat horror as like high art in a sense. You prioritize like the atmosphere, allegory, and like that distinct visual composition over like jump scares, which I know some people don't love jump scares in their movies. Also, if you crave lore over gore, like Tre'vell mentioned, this is very much so made for the fans of this franchise. If you're fascinated by the idea of like a bone temple, as in the sense, and you want to see how society is and how weirdly it evolves after 28 years of collapse and like going through something like a coronavirus that actually turns people into zombies, and rather than like just watching people run away from fast zombies for 2 hours, this is for you. And the last type of person who would like this is someone who like enjoys like that Heart of Darkness journey. Like you want more of a road movie that descends into madness and focuses on like that psychological toll of survival rather than just like the physical struggle of trying to survive. Who it's not for, if you just want a fun popcorn zombie movie, like a shoot 'em up, like Zombieland or World War Z, this is not that. This movie is very bleak, it's very visceral, and it's very heavy. It's also not for you if you're squeamish and like if you don't like seeing people kill each other violently. The cruelty in this movie is very specific and very realistic.
It is, but you be fine if you can watch through your fingers, or you just if you're good at anticipating jump scares, if you can listen to the skull. The skull will help you, okay?
Yeah. My mama would not sit through this one.
Would you say?
My mama would not be able to sit through this one. It's too much fun.
Fair. But
I got her through Sinners, but she can't do this.
It's very gory, very bloody.
And like not gore from even the zombies. Like we're talking about like people killing each other in very violent ways that you just like, you kind of got to look away if you can't take that for real. All right. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was kind of like that equal opportunity slaughter that we mentioned with the human on human, and also like the idea of so few of us, meaning black people, being in this movie. Like, I spotted exactly one black character in the main story of this movie, and it was the black woman who was a part of the family at the farmhouse that the Jimmies, aka the Fingers, invade and torture. She didn't really have much to do, and I can't even recall if she said anything. Like, did she have any speaking lines? But I think it's worth discussing her presence and how she went out. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? But
it's worth noting that she wasn't the first to die, which we know is a classic trope for black characters in horror slasher movies. But she also didn't die ceremoniously or like in a heroic way. So she really was just like a black character there.
And nobody really.
Well, somebody did die in quite a dramatic way. Two people who are consequential to the story, actually.
yeah. But and so it wasn't. She wasn't targeted for her race. To your point, right? Which is, in these kinds of movies, it's often the black people going bye bye. And that did not happen. But you know,
she was in and out so fast, I almost forgot she was there.
Yeah, I was about to say I was hopeful from the trailer that I would not see one of us. Okay. No shade.
Yes, it was what I'm calling JOMO, which is the joy of missing out, because usually, especially here at CETA, we love seeing and fighting for visibility. But like, for once, I was good. Like, I was like, this is a relief not having to worry about the black character surviving and making it out this mess. I was like, this is cool. Like, I was happy to let the white folks stress about their coats and their cures, and I judged them for all their idiotic decisions throughout the movie. Like, like you say, leave us out of it, and they left us out of it.
There was a moment where I wasn't sure. It felt kind of white supremacist-y. But I think my interpretation of that is a byproduct of being unfamiliar with the broader, lore and background of this story. Because there was a moment for me with the Jimmies, with them all being in these blonde wigs, with, how he was articulating, his relationship to the devil, just certain things that I was like, what?
Yeah. So that's what you missed in the previous film, is there was a scene where we see like a flashback of when the infected first came upon society, and they're in a church, and you see a pastor who essentially is walking them into the church and like essentially leading the pack, telling them to go forth, is like summoning them and like pushing them out to like be a thing, and he gets eaten by the infected. But we see a kid witnessing this from like under the pew, and that kid who escapes that, who watches his father doing that, is the Big Jimmy, played by Jack O'Connell. And so that's how he comes to be Sir Jimmy Crystal and becomes like the cult leader of the Jimmies, or the Fingers as they call themselves. So that's background context for this. And honestly, 28 years later, the Bone Temple felt like a long kind of like epilogue from the first film, because we see in 28 years later, the very last scene we see is Spike, the little white boy. He's getting rescued or saved by the Jimmies as he's being chased by one of the infected. And he thinks that's his savior, but as we, saw in this movie Stars, he's essentially getting jumped into a cult and has to abide by this cult rules, which I don't think he realized. And we see him become very uncomfortable in the things they have to do throughout the movie. So to me, this felt almost like the criticism we gave Avatar, James Cameron's film, where it was like Fire and Ash didn't need to be its own separate film in that way. It felt like 28 years later, The Bone Temple was like unfinished narrative that they kind of like made its own film. But honestly, I prefer this one over 28 years later, if I'm being honest. It was more my speed. So that's like further context.
Okay, that's good to know. Know. I do want to talk a little bit about there is one scene that in the film where I was like, now that is Nia DaCosta. There was one scene where I was like, girl, Girl, you ate that up in here, and it centers around my at least favorite set piece of this whole situation, which is the Bone Temple in question.
Which specific scene was that? Because I'm not.
It's the scene. I don't even have to describe it. It's the. I know you know what I'm talking about. It's the scene. It is the scene in which the oldest Jimmy is bringing the younger Jimmys to meet his quote unquote Faja.
Yeah.
And baby, that scene. Somebody even at the end of that scene, a couple people in my theater even clapped. You know what? And I almost did the same. That scene, it was great. That was a great scene.
Yeah. So for the people at home, the scene we're talking about, Ralph Fiennes.
Oh yes.
I call it like his drag number of sorts because he gets up and geesh.
and Satan geesh. Okay?
And Satan geesh, yes. And he puts on a record.
It's giving Lucifer.
He literally puts on a record. I think the song was called the Number of the Beast or something like that. And he goes into full performance acting like he is like the Satan on earth, just to like convince the Fingers and the Jimmys that he is Sir Jimmy's father or like the devil or whatever. And they go full out. Like we're talking pyrotechnics, we're talking costume, we're talking like full on effects. And it was definitely the moment. Like it definitely pumped some beat into the film at the very last act. So yeah, I'm with you on that. That was also my favorite set piece.
Yeah, and the way that the set piece transforms in this scene, you know, there. Like I said, I was looking for things that made me feel like somebody who, at least in my head, is against type for directing this kind of movie. And again, I recognize the hypocrisy in that because of her record. Yeah. You know, I get it. But leave me alone. But I
thought it was a great scene. Yeah. And speaking of that scene, one of the things that like really stood out to me was how before we get into that, but what we were seeing as the scene was happening from Sir Jimmy's perspective, as he's literally nailed on the upside down cross, we see the infected alpha has this appearance of like a beast with horns, and it's just so fantastical in that moment. And another thing that happens earlier in the movie with Samson, who is the alpha that I'm talking about, this is the first time we get to see the world from the perspective of one of the infected, or at least as far as I know from when I jumped into this franchise with 28 years later last year. And we see kind of like what their psychology is and like why they're so rage-filled is because the way they see the earth because of this virus causes them to like want to kill anything that makes noise or sounds like a human. Like a human's talking voice is essentially what incites rage in them.
Yes.
And we get to see a piece of that from their perspective as they're running through the forest chasing after, I believe, the family. That's the first time we see, this is what it's like from the infected's point of view, which was also something I appreciated Nia kind of giving us in her film.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It actually was a surprising watch. I will note that narratively speaking, by the end of the film, it definitely is like, this is a placeholder, or like this is a bridge. Like you could tell it's a bridge to something. And at the end, I kind of was like, that's it.
Yeah, I think it's because it feels a bit episodic in a way. because it's expanding on the story that we kind of get thrown into, or the world we're thrown into in 28 years later. It's not really a standalone story. Like, I was considering taking someone to see this, and they had never seen anything in the franchise, and I had to reconsider at the last minute. I was like, they're not going to know what's going on without having context for this previous film. I actually didn't realize you hadn't seen it. I would have advised otherwise had I known you didn't see the first 28 years later. But it's definitely one of those that you will feel like it's just a part of another larger story and setting up like the next thing. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Okay. You also had this element, speaking of Samson, right? Of other, how other is treated in the film, in this post-apocalyptic, or post, what they call it, biological, infection, right? And you mentioned Samson, the character Samson.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting that, like, the alpha, because I believe this is the same alpha we see in 28 years later, and the only alpha we may see in the entire film at this point.
And alpha means what exactly? Because that wasn't quite discussed.
So, from my interpretation of my understanding of what an alpha is in the infected,
it might
it's
not
one
matter,
of the
actually. Maybe I don't need to know.
It's one of the infected who are the strongest, and they also have the most logical ability, from my understanding.
Okay.
And they like lead the pack. So like think of it like in a wolf pack, there's always like a leader of the pack. The alpha is kind of like that role. So the smaller, lesser infected people who are normal size bend to him. And it's worth noting that the guy who plays the alpha in this film, who plays Samson, is actually like 6'9" in real life, and he's like an MMA or UFC fighter or something like that. And so he's much larger than all of the other people in the film. Like how he appears next to Ralph Fiennes is how he is in real life. And I was just like, the point about the other that I wanted to talk about was just like why that person was depicted as a person of color, and like why that wasn't just another white person who was also just big. And just the idea of how others are treated.
I hear that. I wonder, in a situation like this, though, where the narrative is obviously obviously a bridge, I'm hopeful that the resolution and the reasoning, right, behind the question that you are offering here is answered, in a way that in a way that's not problematic in the next film, which is the third, right? The third and final.
Well, it may not be the final, but there is supposed to be a third. From my understanding, it's supposed to be a trilogy of like 28 years later. But, once these things go, they may never end, to be honest. But Samson, I know you're a church girl. You came up in the church. Like, there are a lot of religious... a lot of religious themes in this with that, like even Samson being called Samson. I believe Ray Fiennes' character says that he named him Samson after the Samson in the Bible. And, Samson in the Bible was like a Nazarite blessed by God. No. So he doesn't know the infected's real name because the infected can't talk. So like he said he's naming him Samson because he reminds him of like Samson in the Bible, who was blessed by God with superhuman strength to defend the Israel against the Palestinians, or the Philistines. Lord, I need to check my brush up on my Bible knowledge, but
I don't know.
But that's why he called him Samson. And then of course we have the Satanist cult with the Jimmies, and Ralph Fiennes is what do you call people who don't believe in God?
Atheist.
Like he's atheist because he's a doctor, so doctors are either religious or believe in science. That's the ideas that they're playing with here. So I thought that was things that were revealed in this movie that were interesting to me. So
yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts that you have about 28 years later, The Bone Temple, before we get into our Seated, Skip It, or Stream It?
Not really. I mean, it's very much so a apocalyptic film. Like, it ain't much to tease out if you really get down to it. Like, it is what it is.
Fair,
what about you?
fair.
Anything else to talk about?
Nope. I'm ready to dive right on into Seed It, Skip It, or Stream It. And if you don't mind, I will lead.
Go ahead.
And I will say stream it.
Okay.
Because that one scene made it worth it for me.
Yeah.
I said, okay, girl, I seen you. And so I would say stream it. You don't need to go spend your $23 to go to the theater. No shade. But, I do think it could be an enjoyable and interesting and unique watch.
Yeah.
If you're searching through, the app in a couple weeks.
Yeah. I'm going to be on the flip side, and I'm actually going to say seated. And especially if you're not paying ticket price, like if you have a subscription, I think this is worth using one of your A-list subscriptions or whatever the other folks use to go see this movie and tap into it. It's a quick watch. Like I don't know what the runtime for this is, but it didn't feel long.
It's less than 2 hours.
Yeah, less than 2 hours. And
Barely,
even if you don't know what's
less.
going on, it's a spectacle of sorts. Like you have a lot of scenes of rolling heels, and then suddenly you're put into action with zombie fighting and cult fighting. It's just a bunch of white people doing white people mess, and I enjoyed it for that. So I'm going to say seated.
Seated it is. So we've got to seed it and we've got to stream it. That's overall positive, okay? I
would say so, yeah.
Just to be clear. Okay, let's get into what the critics and the public are saying. The Rotten Tomatoes, okay? The tomato meter is clocking in at 92%.
Wow.
That's 276 fresh ratings, only 23 rotten ratings. That's big, especially I feel like for a genre movie.
That's really good. I would say this is like, we don't usually get so many 90% in Dumpuary season. So I would definitely say that's a great rating.
We don't. Yes, we absolutely don't. And then the popcorn meter. So the audience also high, not as high, but also high at 88%.
The people like it.
People who are seeing it are really enjoying it, is what this information tells us. And I would let you know, as somebody who's not really into this, go watch it. Why not?
I'll say I am surprised that like it's so high, but the box office has actually been underperforming. It's a movie that their production budget was like somewhere in like 63 million, and their current box office performance is like at 47 million, which it's not a great sign considering this movie's been out for like 2 or 3 weeks now. But the people who have seen it are loving it enough. So yeah.
Yeah, shout out to them. And then we have our Black Critic Spotlight. Today we are going to be highlighting Elliott Collins, who has his own independent YouTube review channel here on the internet. It's called Movie Files. Check him out. Elliott is also a St. Louis-based film critic, part of the St. Louis Film Critics Association. And they had to say, I loved how ballsy this was and how it wasn't afraid to take crazy swings. It takes its time getting into the rhythm, and it doesn't have a Boyle's visual juice, quote unquote, but the narrative payoff is worth it.
Yeah, I'm with that. Nice. So I was curious about how 28 Years Later performed with Rotten Tomatoes, and its tomato meter was actually only 88%, and the popcorn meter was 63%. So people like this installation more than they like 28 Years Later, which I think says a lot because our girl Nia DaCosta led the ship on this one.
Okay, yeah, go on, give her credit. I see what you're doing there. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So now that we've gotten a kind of like take from the people, the critics, and us, we can go ahead and jump and take a quick break and come back with Black Cinema Games.
All righty. Break time.
Back again. And now it's time for my favorite segment this week and every week, Black Cinema Games.
Pew, 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 pew. Pew,
yes.
pew, pew, pew.
Now you can see me again. You know, we had some technical difficulties with the last segment, but we back
did,
and blacker than ever.
Okay. Okay, this is what happened. Listen, we independent. INDEPENDENT. Do you know what that means?
We don't support that, Roach, but you know.
No, we don't. But do you know what that means? It means that sometimes we have technical difficulties.
I'm a woman who independent. Better one. There we go. Had to get a better reference.
Fair.
So this week's Black Cinema Game is going to be a little bit different. I'm calling this Who Said That?
Who had been saying that? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that? Okay, Portia.
Yes.
Portia and Candy Burris Tucker.
Yes.
Oh, wait, excuse me. Just Candy Burris.
Yes. And so what I'm going to do this week is read out quotes from Nia DaCosta's movies, and you have to tell me which movie the line is from. And bonus point if you can name the character that says it.
Oh, that's crazy work. But okay, this could be fun.
We had
This
to make
could
it
be
interesting.
fun.
We had to make it interesting.
This could be fun.
I mean,
Okay,
because she
wow.
only has
What
5
movie?
feature films that we have talked about during our conversation. So you are already
Yes.
set up for success. Now you're just playing a matching game at this point.
Sure. Let me write down some notes to make sure I remember the five.
We ain't doing all that. We don't need-
It's just from my memory. It's just from my memory. I'm not. Because it is only 5. That means I only have 5 to choose from.
Yes, we don't need you. We don't need you to see them. We need you to just throw them off the head, off the dome. That's a
I'm
part
not
of the
looking it up.
game.
I'm going off my memory to 5 that I remember.
But don't
I
write
even
them
remember
down.
all 5. That's not fine.
You see how black
That's
people
fine.
are? It's like playing Taboo, child.
Well, because if I wrote them down, then I would remember all 5. Because I know you're gonna put that 10 seconds on me. and
I'm
you're
not.
gonna
I'm actually not gonna time you. I'm not gonna time
Okay.
you. Yeah, I'm gonna let you give
Okay.
you some room to think about this.
Okay, great, fine. Then I don't need to take my notes. Let's do it. Let's.
All right.
dive
As a
in.
reminder, we're playing Who Said That, and I'm reading out lines from movies, and Tre'vell is guessing the movie from the line. And if you can give me the character, bonus point for you. Are you ready for the first film?
Let's do it.
Here is the line. I trust one thing in a woman, that she will not come back to life after she's dead.
That she will not come back to life after she's dead.
I'll give you another read if you need it. I trust one
feel
thing in
like-
a woman, that she will not come back to life after she's dead.
Whatever movie, I've seen this movie. I remember this line. I just don't remember what movie, but I am going to guess. I'm going to guess Hedda.
Yes, you got the first one. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Because
So-
I was like, I've heard this line.
Yeah, that's the opening line in Hedda, actually. And for people who may not be aware, Hedda was Nia DaCosta's 2025 film. And it's like a visceral reimagination of Ibsen's Hedda Gabler that strips the period drama of its stuffiness, turning it into a psychological thriller about control
Watch
and
our
gender
episodes,
performance.
people.
Yes,
We
watch our episodes.
Watch or listen if you was on the YouTube, on the air tubes.
Yes, and it's starring Tessa Thompson and Nina Hoss. So, yes.
Yes.
All right, you got 1 point on the board. Are you ready for movie number 2? We're playing Who Said
Ready,
That?
ready,
And you were
ready.
guessing the movie from its line.
Let's do it.
Here's the line. You can stand tall without standing alone.
You can stand tall. Oh, that's definitely the Marvels.
Do you know who said it?
I think it is. Now I got to remember who was in that movie. Is that the movie that had Tiana Paris in it? Was it Tiana
It
Paris'
is.
character?
I'll take it. Oh, it wasn't Tiana Paris's character. I was going to say, I'll take the
dang.
actress name, but it was actually
Dang.
Valkyrie, which is Tessa Thompson's character.
Tessa Thompson. Dang.
Yeah. So it's from The Marvels, which is the 2023 MCU film that was their tentpole, and it balanced complex studio mandates with like a colorful character-focused story about female mentorship and family dynamics, starring Brie Larson, Tiana Paris, and Tessa Thompson. Well, you got 2 points on the board. You ready for number 3? We only got three more left because we're doing all 5.
3 more. Let's do it.
No, we're just doing 2 more because we're not going to do 28 years later. That'd be too easy.
Okay, great.
All right,
That's
so we're
fair.
playing Who Said That, and you're guessing the movie from its line. Bonus point if you can guess the character. Here's the line. Your choices are only as good as your options are.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Rules wise, Can we, or will we be repeating answers?
No.
Okay.
So you can go through process elimination at this point.
Yes, I can. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna go with Little Woods.
You would be correct. So, Little Woods is Nia DaCosta's 2018 film. It's a tense neo-Western debut that uses the thriller genre to examine systemic poverty and the American healthcare crisis through the eyes of two sisters. And it stars Tessa Thompson and Lily James. Do you know what character spoke that line by chance?
Was it Tessa Thompson's character?
I feel like that would be too easy. Do you know the character's name? Because we know Tessa Thompson's in every movie.
Sarah.
The character name is actually not Sarah. The character's name is Ollie. So, but it was Tessa Thompson's character. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen Little Woods since it came out. You know what I mean?
It's been a minute.
Can't tell you nothing about that. I forgot the movie was a thriller. Until you just read that description. And I was like, oh, it actually is.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, Nia has been committed to the genre lane for a minute since she started. All right. So you got 3 out of 4. Last one, I mean, it's pretty easy at this point by process of elimination, but we'll still go through the motions. The line is, but you know how it goes. They love us. But you know how it goes. They love what we make, but not us.
Candyman.
Yes.
Candyman,
don't say it 3 times. No, ma'am.
Candy.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No. So Candyman is a 2021 film. It's a stylish legacy sequel that revitalized a dormant horror IP by transforming a slasher story into a sharp critique of gentrification, art world exploitation, and black trauma, starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen. The second,
why you say it like that?
and Tiana Paris. That's how he pronounces his name. It's like, remember when he came out and told us the way to pronounce his name is Yahya? It's
No, I
cultural.
don't remember that, but I believe you.
I'm gonna find the video and plug it in right here so I have proof of concept.
I said I believe you, friend.
How my name is pronounced is Yahya.
Yahya.
Yahya, yeah. So the H is not silent. Everyone says Yahya. It doesn't bother me. But I do always appreciate it when someone does say Yahya. So
Yahya. And what is that? Where does it come from?
It's Arabic. My father's name was John before he converted to Islam. And Yahya is the prophet, John the Baptist.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that. Okay.
You ain't got to prove yourself to me.
Ooh, so yes, you've got 4 for 4 on the board. You swept again. You are killing the game, and that's going to do it for our Black Cinema Games this week. Shout out to Tre'vell and that their film knowledge of yours, and Miss Nia DaCosta herself for being the auteur behind it all.
Shout out to her. Shout out to her. Okay, now it is time for our Good Vibes Only segment. This is how we wrap up the show every week with some recommendations for you all. And these are often, bits and pieces of culture that Ray and I are diving into that is keeping our vibes right. Ray, kick us off this week.
Yeah, so my recommendation is going to be really simple, and it's also supplemental to the conversation. So as I was doing what I do, researching things that I could find about the filmmakers in the movie, I happened upon an interview with Nia DaCosta over at Get Wrecked with Straw Hat Goofy, which is a YouTube channel and fellow podcast here, where she's discussing her experience coming through the studio system as a director, as a Black woman, and also like how she approached filming 28 years later, The Bone Temple. So I would highly recommend you all check that out to get more into the brain of the filmmaker, Nia DaCosta herself. So that's Get Wrecked with Straw Hat Goofy, and it's the Nia DaCosta interview. What about you, Tre'vell? What are you telling the people to check out this week?
So, y'all know typically I like to try to give you a recommendation that is, in the vein of what we have discussed for the review. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing that this episode.
Oh,
because my list of recommendations for horror, for zombie, there's not many. There's not many. But a show that I am watching that is currently on television right now, it's a reality show that is just interesting. The show is called Suddenly Amish.
Oh.
Now, this is one of them TLC shows, okay? And they basically have a handful of folks who say they want to learn the ways of the Amish, and they believe that it will. In theory, they are joining this show to learn how to be Amish and to be, in theory, accepted into the Amish community. There is an African-American. The African-American is bisexual.
Oh, they're part of the leg booty community. Shout out to them.
They are in the leg booty community. Now, I hate the way
And
that they
Amish?
come out. I hate the way that they come out on this show, or disclose that they're bisexual to the people around. But it is an interesting social experiment.
Interesting. This sounds like a show that our cousins
how I
over
feel.
at the Jaden XD show would cover, because they love this type of fare. So shout out to them. They're actually the blackest show about nothing, so they're definitely worth listening.
I'm so glad you brought it up, because I was, every now and again I call myself looking at the ratings and the comments and the reviews that the people drop us, right? Somebody dropped us. I'm gonna see if I can look it up. Y'all be patient with me.
This is news to me. You're getting some live footage shit, because I ain't seen whatever they talking about.
No, you have not. Somebody left a review on Apple Podcasts of our show.
I hope it was good. Now I'm anticipating.
It wasn't, as it relates to Jaden XD. And so I've been meaning to bring this up and to say it out loud on the show, because I want the public to know the real, and also not try to make shit up. You know what I mean? Or make a thing that's not a thing. And so I should note, it's not bad. It's a 4-star rating.
4 stars. We had some 5 stars over here, but okay. We're already off to a bad foot.
The person's, I won't say their name or handle, but it's a 4-star rating from a couple weeks ago. And the person says, "Did you all bite Jade and XD? Their tagline is the blackest show about nothing, and literally everybody knows that. Side eye emoji."
Not shady ratings.
I don't think it's shady. What I want to note is that, first of all, nothing is new under the sun. Right? We know Jade and XD personally.
Yes. As a matter of fact, it's funny that this is coming up, because when I came up with the idea, I reached out to XD and was like, "Hey, so I'm doing a movie podcast, and I think that this would be a great tagline, and it's inspired by y'all's. What do you think?" And they gave me their blessing. So there you have that.
I just wanted you brought them up, and so I just wanted to address that. And also, we love them.
Yes,
right?
they're my cousins.
The work of cultural criticism, I consider them to be cultural critics. I have an expansive definition in that case, obviously, because all of these folks are cultural critics. But this is a robust, vibrant community. Yes. We ain't nobody stealing nothing, but we definitely are inspired and making it our own. Yes. We love them over there.
Yes.
And
I'm glad you saw that before I did.
To the Apple rating review, because I will take the 4 stars. We do want 5.
I'll take it. Yes.
4.
So I need my people to go up in the Apple ratings and drop us some 5-star ratings to make up for that 4-star that whoever this is gave us. But thank you for tuning in. I'm not mad. I am bothered, but I'm not mad.
Okay. That will do it for this week's episode. Thank you all so much for joining. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the episode with a friend. We really appreciate it.
Yes. We'll see y'all next week.
Deuces.
If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like and tap that subscribe button. And if you're listening, give us a 5-star rating and review in your podcast app or wherever you're tapping in today. It'll really help folks find us as we grow. Seated is an independently funded production, and your support can help us go further. Consider becoming a card-carrying member of the Seated Movie Club at seatedshow.com/join, where we'll bring you more of this popcorn-worthy content, special events, and more. And how do we do all that we do? Well, it's not by ourselves. Our theme music was created by Buckroll and animation by Ajung Adi, with creative consulting by Jade Fox and publicity support by House of Arrows. This week's episode was edited by me, Ray Love Jr. Seated is a co-production of Slay John and 5011 Media. It's hosted and produced by Tre'vell Anderson and Ray Love Jr. Shout out to our location partner, The Walcott Yard. See you at the movies. Holla! Put on my cross today too, because you know all this satanist worship in this movie.
It is very present, my lord. It is very present.
That's why I was playing Fred Hammond.
Not you said you needed to clear out the space.
Need to get some of the spirits up off me, child.
You said, my God, today, Father God, we come to you as humbly as we know how. Okay? All right.